Bringing Tom Verducci, the Sports Illustrated senior baseball writer. Surprised at that move if it turns out that way, Tom?
Not really, only because people have talked about this for a year or so since Davey Johnson said he was coming back. Matt Williams and Mike Rizzo, the general manager, they go back to their days in the Diamondbacks organization. And Matt really did a good job last year going to the Arizona Fall League. And, I'll give him credit for doing that. He put in the work, and a lot of people took notice of that. He did a very good job. So not a complete surprise. I think the only surprise is if Cal Ripken really wanted that job. It might have been tough to say no to Cal Ripken. But I'm not sure he's really decided completely that he wants to manage right now.
Well, that's what I said to Rip when he was on the show. I said, if you want it, I would want you to go get it instead of waiting. It's like the pretty girl at the dance where you're waiting for somebody to ask you. Sometimes you can't just sit there. If you really want to manage, Cal, then you should say, I really want to manage.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think teams would respond to that signal from Cal, obviously. But, yeah, you know how big the job has become. Even since Cal stopped playing, I think the job has become a lot bigger in terms of the responsibilities, the hours, being really the focal point of an organization, an point man for an organization, at least publicly. It's a big, big job, and people need to know that Cal's 100% in.
Talking to Tom Verducci of Sports Illustrated. Before I get to last night's game in the series, the Don Mattingly situation, I was accused of being an alarmist here with Don Mattingly's situation, and I said, well, if he was brought back all along, why did you have that awkward press conference, and you're bringing him back with no contract extension? It just seems like this is going to – he's a lame duck manager, and they're almost waiting for a reason to fire him. I don't know. That's the feeling I get, Tom.
It's not good. I would agree with that sentiment there. I think, after that press conference, which I think awkward is a kind word for it, it was bizarre to me. The next day they get rid of Trey Hillman, his bench coach. They go back a long way, back in the Yankee minor league days. One of the scouts, Wade Taylor, another connection to Don Mattingly, a friend of his, he was let go. So, yeah, this is not a real good marriage at this point. I was just surprised that Donnie took those things public. I certainly don't take any exception to his sentiment that he was out there sort of as a lame duck this season. But I think that's something you bring up to the general manager, ownership behind closed doors rather than a press conference.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I thought he was almost saying, look, you want to fire me, fire me. If not, bring me back, give me a contract extension. Did he earn a contract extension in your opinion?
I think he did, Dan, but, I didn't think that he had earned an extension during the season. At that point, what have you really won? You're talking about a new ownership group that inherited him, didn't hire him. I mean, Joe Girardi was the last year of his deal in New York, and that guy has a world championship ring on his finger as a manager. So I didn't think Don was in the position during the season to have, I know he wanted that authority. The players know you're there for more than a year, and I get that. But I didn't think he had the resume at that point to get that extension.
All right, as far as the series goes, I mentioned how important fundamentals are, or they're becoming more important now because if you want to look at the PEDs, now it comes down to pitching and defense and doing small things, little things. And we've seen that so far through the first two games. Am I reaching for something here, or do you feel like the fundamentals, small things, are going to be what decides this, not the big things?
No, I think you're right because that's the game that we have now. It's a lower run-scoring environment, so what I like to say is the game now is competed at intervals of 90 feet, not just one run at a time. Where a pass, ball, a bunt, anything that moves a runner up and he can score, that becomes a really big play in the game. Now, I will tell you that when it comes to defense and base running, the Red Sox are much better than the Cardinals. And they have a big edge right there. We saw that in Game 1, how poor the Cardinals played on defense. But there's a big but. In terms of the pitching, the power pitching, swing and miss stuff, Cardinals have a huge edge. You saw that last night. They've been doing it the whole postseason with these young pitchers. I mean, they are out in front of the curve as the game changed to young pitching and power pitching specifically, where you can get people out in the strike zone. The Cardinals somehow, some way wound up with a factory of those guys, and they have more than anybody else. And the Red Sox are going to have their hands full because they need to go through Michael Wacha again unless they sweep in St. Louis. And late in games through that bullpen, when you see 97 to 100 pitch after pitch, I think they got a taste last night that the World Series began last night. I don't know what happened in Game 1, but that was the World Series game last night.
And now the series shifting to St. Louis, and you brought up the point, with this young pitching staff there. And you mentioned Waka. The headline of your recent article was, Waka stakes claim as greatest young pitcher in postseason history. Who would be his competitors for that title?
Well, I mean, you want to go back to, I think it's 1909 with Dave Adams won 3 games as the rookie with the Pirates. But really in the modern era, Fernando in 81 had an incredible run. Livan Hernandez was 22 for those 97 Marlins. Of course, he got a little bit of help from the strike zone in 97.
With Eric Gregg.
Yeah, those are the ones that stand out to me. John Smoltz, you'd have to put him out there. Steve Avery, of course, and I think it was 93, the run that he was on. But no one's done this. No one's gone 4-0 at the age of 22. And Cole Hamels was 24, had that great run with the '08 Phillies. But, I mean, if they do have a Game 6 and he wins that game, he'll be the first starting pitcher to win 5 starts in the postseason. So, and it's the way he's doing it, Dan. I mean, he's dominating major league hitters. The Dodgers got a second look at him, and everybody said, well, now they figured this kid out second time around. That's not the case. There's no real deception in what this kid does. He goes right at you. His stuff is that good. He reminds me in some ways of Verlander. This is the start, I think. You're looking at a real impact pitcher in the big leagues. This is just not some fluky run.
Well, I was talking to McLovin about this, that the sabermetricians don't value clutch or they don't believe in clutch. But I believe in Big Papi, and I think he's clutch. Do you believe in that the category or the assessment somebody can be more clutch than somebody else?
Oh, I think guys definitely can be more clutch. If you disregard clutch, you're really disregarding the human element. I mean, in hoops, there's some guys that want the rock in their hands at the end of the game. They want to take that shot, and other guys are more than happy to dish it off and let somebody take it. You can't tell me people go to the plate in the ninth inning, game on the line, crowd going nuts, with the same degree of comfort level. That's just humans just don't operate that way. So to me, I want the guy who's more extroverted, more comfortable in those environments, loves to be on the stage. Doesn't mean he's going to get a hit every time up. But you can't tell me there's nothing there to wanting to be in the big spots. And to me, Ortiz has always been that player. Put it on me, guys. I'm very comfortable in that spot.
Well, Smoltz said after the game, I just wouldn't pitch to him. Like, I don't know if he's got, into the Bonds treatment category, but, there's an element, too. He can't hurt me on first base, but he can hurt me when he's at home plate.
It's a great point because I thought the mistake Benoit made in the LCS is a walk is a good play there, bases loaded up by 4. The only thing you have to avoid is the home run. So pitching around him, bases loaded, yeah, that's the Bonds treatment, but the game called for that scenario at that point. Last night, he did throw him a full count changeup. Now, It was one of the rare bad ones from Waka, but he was not giving in to David Ortiz there. That was a case of just making a pitch, a mistake, and execution that your 97th pitch or whatever he was at that point. And give Papi credit, he certainly didn't miss it. But you're right. I think when the series started, I'd be surprised if the Cardinals did not say, listen, there's one guy in that lineup we're not letting beat us, and that's David Ortiz. So I guess you have to be even more careful now because he's not just comfortable in the clutch. He's locked in right now.
Thank you, Tom. Safe travels to St. Louis.
You got it, Dan. Thank you.
Tom Verducci, senior baseball writer from Sports Illustrated.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.